Hey everybody, we are back. I'm back. I've been away on
It's
holiday
back.
because never happens. I of course booked my holiday from Thursday to Thursday, so I missed two
So you could miss
episodes.
it twice.
Yeah, just so I didn't have to work. That was it. So I just skipped doing Twitch shows. We all know that I love doing this. But yeah, I had John and Savannah covering while I was away. Some great episodes to dive into on those. All about savings plans and about S3. So make sure you go back and have a look on YouTube. And as a reminder, we are having a month hiatus after this episode, so we won't be on Twitch, but there might still be things coming up on the YouTube channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe on there so you stay up to date with all of our YouTube videos. Maybe some partner sessions will be coming up and exciting things to look forward to. But today we are talking about chargeback. Now, this is something that actually came up with a couple of our customers, and we were looking around, and there's only a few articles and blog posts and videos about this. And so, randomly, Savannah, Xianshu, and our colleague Matty actually had a discussion offline about it just to like see what each other were doing. And then we ended up having an open slot, and we're like, hey, let's talk about chargeback. So I bring these two lovely guests on, but let's check in. So, Savannah, how's your day going so far?
Oh, it's going great. The beautiful
It's
Seattle
early.
weather is back. It's cloudy, which I love. Almost beanie season. Might get to wear my jackets again, so I'm excited. I know.
Wait,
I
love
know.
this.
We're getting there. So,
I love the beanie weather. And Genshu, you are in New York at the moment?
Yes, I just got back from sunny and also very tropical, rainy Florida back to New York. It's actually pretty cool up here. So, like I think 70 degrees.
Oh,
But I hope summer is not over soon. I still need some of the outdoor eating and coffee.
yes.
yeah,
Yes, it
I
has
like came
vibes.
back from very hot Athens in Greece. So I was like, it's autumn now. I'm ready for beanies and sweaters. Like I want to switch into that wardrobe. But anyway, right, let's get into the show. So welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. I am your host, Steph Gooch, here to help you with all of your FinOps questions. Savannah, do you want to go?
My name is Savannah Jensen. I'm a senior FinOps success manager at the optics team here at AWS, and I've been around for about 6.5 years,
Perfect.
which
And
makes me
Jensen,
feel
you've been on
very old.
before. Oh no, yeah. Have you just got your 6 years, or is that?
No, 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 no. It's in
Okay.
January. So six and a
Oh,
half.
okay. Oh,
Wow.
it's coming up. I'm almost at 4 in like 2 weeks, which if I feel like a baby in comparison. And Jenshi, do you want to say hi to everyone? You've been on before, but remind everyone what you do at AWS.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to get invited by Steph to be on the show again. So this is Xianshu. So I'm the senior optimization solution architect, also for the optics team. And I think I'm the youngest, like 3 years and half something, like getting there.
Yeah. And you remember the episode Jenshi did with Rivian, which is a great episode, which is the episode, if everyone remembers, where I said my mum would come on, which did happen. So you never know what I'm going to say is going to happen this time. So make sure that you keep an eye on the show. And throughout, make sure that you ask questions, comments, put them in the chat. Already had a great question in here. Steph, how many pistachio things did you eat in Greece? There was a lot. If you count every individual baklava I ate, quite a lot of them. But there was also a place that gave out free samples of this pistachio cream thing, and we went every day. So I ate quite a lot of pistachios. For context, the island I was on was known for pistachios, and you could have like they're just one of the biggest exports was pistachios. So, Chase, and thank you for following me on Instagram.
You posted a picture of a pistachio tree on Instagram, and
Yeah.
it kind of broke my brain. I was like, that cannot be what that looks like.
It
Anyway.
doesn't look. We had one like this guy had loads of them that were just like fresh that you could eat basically just from the tree, and we were in the right season for it. And I was like, oh, it's strange that it's not like roasted or dried or anything. It was this. It was nice. I liked it. I love pistachios. I have pistachio t-shirt. So, anyways, let's get back to chargeback. So diving in, like I said at the start, we are going to be looking at kind of the best practices for chargeback, the challenges people have, and we're going to go into some demos later on. Actually, while we mentioned that, we're going to do demos later, but Savannah, what are you going to show everyone in the demo you're going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to be walking through how to set up cost categories for the first time if you've never set it up before. And cost categories is one of my favorite and extremely underrated features of AWS's billing system. If you're curious about it and if you want to see a much more polished demo, you can check out the reInvent catalog because we're doing a build
Yes.
here. I'm very excited.
Yes, reInvent coming up before we know it. We've already just had our prep meetings, and I'm going as well. I'll be doing a session on the cost and use report code session like I did last year. So if you're going to be there, come say hi. We'll be putting it all out constantly about what sessions, what times, and other ones to look out for. So make sure you stay in this space. CloudStripe just said nice plug to get that in. That was a great segue. So well done, Savannah. And Jen, you're also going to show a little bit based on curve we just spoke about. What are you going to show everyone in a bit?
Yeah, so I'm gonna walk through the nitty-gritty of the cost and usage report that I believe the fans of the show must be familiar with. So if you want to do a more DIY version of your chargeback strategy, and I'm going to walk you through where you find the right columns and what is the right filters that you have to set up depending on different type of chargeback strategy that you implement for your corporations.
Perfect. But before we dive into them, let's set the scene. So maybe Savannah, do you want to just say like what chargeback is from your point of view that you've seen customers do?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of kind of different names for it, and I think you'll hear chargeback, you'll hear showback, you'll also sometimes just hear cost allocation. But effectively, any of these things means dividing up kind of the true cost of what a single application or linked account or product is using, and allocating that cost back to them. So if you are a customer with a large AWS organization that has multiple projects or multiple products or multiple business units that are all under the same payer account, you likely have to go through some process to give everybody a bill at the end of the month and kind of let them understand what portion of the pie they're using. Depending on how your accounts are structured and what some of kind of your cost saving strategies look like, that can take a lot of different forms. So if you manage your reservations and your savings plans centrally in the payer account, you'll likely have to do some sort of distribution of those costs down to each of the linked accounts or business units, however you want to split it up. That's kind of the most common use case that we see. The other kind of easy to understand one is enterprise support. So if you have enterprise support at AWS, you receive an enterprise support charge, and that hits either usually your payer account, and it's kind of all in one lump. You've got to reallocate that down and kind of spread that out amongst all the folks that are using those support plans, depending on kind of what your business goals are and what you think is fair. Steph, are there some other ones that you're aware of that are like pretty common? I think those are kind of the big two.
You covered I'm going to recap now, but I've just spaced. Yep. We did the goodness sake, support charges,
enterprise support, yeah.
Yep, and RI savings plan.
RI savings plan. And then the third one I would go for, I was, when you're thinking and then trying to write at the same time, was shared services. So more about like actual applications that are the one that I see a lot of people. So you have a system that everybody uses, and you need to proportionally charge that back out, which would be about, I don't know if you had a service, like I remember doing this at my old company where we had something like Jura, and then we had to make a decision. Did we do it based on how much people were using, a flat fee, a proportional fee, all these different things? But Xianshu, you write a whole blog about doing proportional distribution on Transit Gateway. So do you want to share a little bit about that kind of a situation and what that was for?
Yeah, exactly. This is what I want to adapt to what Savannah was saying, that the shared services is also like data transfer, like all your networking cost is also like a very highly demanding services that we've always heard from customers that they want more clarity, like how to share the data transfer charge. So actually, the example that Steph just shared, the Transit Gateway is this like cost. You can, like, if you haven't read the blog, have a look first, and then you will see different services have like different pricing module. And when we are saying Transit Gateway, it's not 100% of the Transit Gateway cost that you have to charge back, but then it really depends on which section of the service that you're using that needs to charge back. So all this meaning, what is the most important thing is to understand how a shared service is built, and to understand which portion is the cost that you actually need to charge back, because some of them are allocated automatically in your bill already. So once you identified that parts that you need to do some DIY process using different tools like the cost categories Savannah mentioned, or the curve that you want to DIY a bit further. So that is the next step for you. And then the next step is like also explain the blog that this also depends on your corporate organization. Like, how do you see your cost? Is it by cost center? Is it by project? Is it by application? So stuff like that is also like customizable when you're thinking about designing the whole process.
Brilliant. And I've had an idea about how we can maybe discuss the different ways in which you might do chargeback in terms of proportional usage or flat fee. But let's do a quick poll and just see who in the conversation is already doing chargeback. So 1 for yes, 2 for no. Do you do chargeback? Did I spell chargeback right? That's the big question. So pop it in the chat. I did. I was doing this today. I was like, I spelled challenges wrong at the title, and I was like, oh no. Okay, lots of people doing chargeback at the moment. Okay, which is good because it is something that most businesses, maybe you get to a bigger size, and I've seen this recently with customers who they weren't doing it for so long, and then suddenly they have to do it immediately. And that is a big cultural shift as well, where suddenly people were just like spending money all over the place. And then they didn't have to worry about actually monitoring how much it was. And then as soon as you add this kind of chargeback, showback, cost allocation, suddenly someone's like, oh no, this is hitting my billing center. I need to deal with this kind of thing.
The other big one is if you change your purchase strategy for RS and savings plans. That's honestly, I think usually when I've gotten pulled in to help like redefine a chargeback strategy is if you go from a scenario where you're either letting business units or like letting all of your linked accounts purchase their own stuff to centrally managing more of it, that's going to necessitate you figuring out how to split up that central management benefit basically and figure out like how you want to slice and dice that and how you want to give that benefit back to the folks who are actually using it.
And in a very brief sentence, if someone's watching this and is like, oh, which one should I do? Do you want to just quickly, I mean, like quick outline, because it's not a savings plan episode, when someone would do it per account and when someone would do it at organization?
Yeah. So usually I see folks do it per account when they're a little bit earlier in their AWS journey, or when they have business units that are kind of very keyed in and owning some of the FinOps pieces of the puzzle and responsible for purchasing their own leases. So when there is like a larger sprawl and a lot more central management, when you move to a central FinOps team that's owning some of that, and you want to kind of provide a base level of coverage to everyone and bring everyone up to a certain like par point, basically in terms of coverage and savings, that's usually when I see folks transition from primarily linked account to primarily payer. And the reality of the situation is usually customers have some mix of both. So,
brilliant. Okay, so on the where's it gone? The comments, Jason's asked, how do AWS customers typically handle chargeback, showback when utilizing reserved instances and or savings plan? So I think let's go a little bit deeper into this and say what a common use case would be, and then I want to go back to my shared services thing in a bit. So Xianshu, do you want to take this? How you've seen customers handle it, and then Sani can go.
Yeah, sure. So across all the customers that I work with, like really depending on how they organize the budgeting or the purchase process in their own company. So there's like a lot of decision making process that you have to like dive deep into this purchase strategy, because when you purchase a savings, so usually to add on what Savannah was saying about linked account own, what another use cases I've seen that people prefer to purchase at linked account level is precisely to prevent the need to charge back, because if they use linked account and then it's easier for them to manage the budget, and also if each team they have their own budget, so they usually are more like likely to purchase their own like savings plans at their own level, and also they're very specific about the spillovers, that do they want to you let other account to use their savings plans benefit or not. So to sum it up, like two main decision making processes, like first, which team has the budget to do the purchase, and then the second is to how do you want to deal with the underutilized savings plans, or do you want like if the owner of the savings plans have underutilized, do you want to share the credits, or do you want to just let it like go to let's say, like, for lack of better word, let's just go to waste. So those are the two main things when customers typically deal with chargeback, showback. And then which tool that they're using really depend on, like, first, like how much engineering in-house expertise they have. Like if they have like more engineers and cloud ops engineers, they tend to do a more DIY approach to customize their visuals for chargeback, and or they rely on like different kind of tooling or the cost categories or other AWS cost management toolings to do the chargeback. And then another process is to think, like, where do they want to see the cost difference in their invoicing, or they can be okay just to see it differently in their dashboard or their internal Excel reporting system. So that is another thing to think of, like, where do they want to see the final numbers can be also
That's
different.
Who's
I
doing
think
it
we'd
is a
come
big
back to
one.
that. Yeah, let's finish on the savings plan. And I do, because, and so behind the scenes stuff, guys, we did, when I mentioned at the start, we did this nice sort of conversation before. We just went all over the shop, and I feel like today's going to be that. But in this episode, we're going to have everything you need to know. It's just going to be, but don't forget, if you wait around to the end, you'll see Richard's summary, and he'll give you some more direct points about what we were saying.
Richard, save us.
Yeah. Savannah, anything you want to add on this before we move on?
Yeah, so I think the big question, and like where folks get stuck or where these processes can really kind of drag on a little bit when you're first standing them up, is before you actually put your hands on the keyboard or start investigating any of these tools, you have to understand exactly, like Xianshu said, like what your business goals are. Are you trying to just give a show back so that people can see like approximately what their costs look like so they can get a good idea of run rate? Are you trying to do this in a financial accounting mechanism and you need it to tie out to the penny, and you have to have like a very structured thing and like probably a spreadsheet that you report and a ledger that you like draw down if you're tracking amortization? Or are you just trying to make sure that everybody gets a bill that's kind of representative of their true usage at the end of the month? When it comes to sharing savings plan benefit or sharing RIs, again, like, are you trying to make sure that everybody gets a fair share of what's managed centrally, or are you trying to make sure that everybody's bill is perfectly representative of exactly what they actually consumed? Those are some of the things that you kind of have to be thinking through before you can decide on a mechanism that works for you.
Perfect. All right, I am going to bring up, if I can get my computer to agree with me, then I want to do an idea of, I'll come back to this. Okay. Was the three different ways in which we could do chargeback. So we've already kind of discussed that there are different options. Let me take this down. Different options and things to focus on chargeback. And we brought up the shared services. So from my point of view, when it comes to shared services fees, and when I say shared services, like I said earlier, this could be something that lots of people use in the business. Charging that thing can be quite tricky because it's often in one account, but then everyone's using it. A lot of your other services could be easily charged back if they're siloed accounts or if they're tagged. So how do we do this kind of shared service chargeback? And the way I look at it, I want to see your opinions as well, guys, is you can do a proportional distribution. So say, for example, there's an account that owns 10% of all spend in your AWS organization. It would then pay 10% of this shared service. And then if there's a 5%, 5%, whatever. And then if you have very small spend, you only pay a very small amount. Then there's usage. So how much is someone actually using it? And that's a little bit more difficult because it means you have to have access information, logging information, some kind of data that you can attribute usage to and then proportionally spend that. And then the very easy version, to kind of flip it back, is a flat fee. So everyone pays $10 a month and that's it, regardless of your usage. And if you have an account, that's it. So they're the three different types, and they all come with like good and bad ideas. And so what I'll do is I'll make a poll, and I'd love to see what people think they would choose of those three. But Savannah, of those, just what are your thoughts on those three? Any that you think's a good or bad? Or
I think there's one more, and it's even split. I think it goes along with flat fee, but like if you get charged $20 for the service one month and $50 for it the next month, you can either divide $20 up by however many people are using it, or
Right.
you can basically like take an aggregate of like what you project you're going to use over the year and always just charge the same flat fee. So you can kind of group those two together.
Yeah.
But I've seen also people use different strategies for different things, and we can double click on that in a bit too. But I'm also so impressed that you're pulling up this poll on the fly sidebar. I'm always like, I pre-prep
She's
mine
always
and I'm like,
strings for both.
something's gonna go wrong. She's a pro, everyone.
Yeah, I love doing the polls. But let's dive into them and then we'll ask people on the poll. So the challenges, I mean, I always think with the percentage distribution is probably the easiest and the most accurate in some cases, but the usage one is like the most accurate because you can get it like Xianshu was talking about in your transit gateway one, you did it based on like per usage. But Xianshu, when it comes to that kind of like per usage one, when you were doing stuff for transit gateway and maybe liken it to other situations, what was the hardest part of getting that data for kind of usage?
I think it's to the data collection piece to get the relevant data and automate the process to get it integrated with the core data, because you need the right fields and right columns, and then to kind of join the things together that give you the proportion that represent the true usage of the accounts that you're really looking for. So I think that is the data collection piece, and clean out the data, like all the underlying work is the most time consuming, but the most important one, because on top of that, you can design, like you said, like different kind of strategy to allocate it. But the data collection is actually the underrated challenging piece that I see.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's what I spent for most of my time doing. I felt like when I was a customer, and we did a lot with the transit gateway stuff. And Jason asks, how did you collect that data accurately to reflect costs? When you did it, Xianshu, what were you pulling in?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, because there's so many data, especially most likely when it comes to like true usage, we need to rely on data from CloudWatch. And then there's so many data, so many metrics available in CloudWatch. So you need to be very careful to select what's the real data that you want to use, and then will truly represent the usage. So in the example of the transit gateway that we so made a decision, that's because we're talking about the data going in and going out. So it's actually for the use case that represent the customer, is actually the uploads data and downloads data. So this is the two type of data we decided that we need to add them up and use them to calculate the proportion key. But then maybe for other customers that they think maybe the data upload is free because they are bring data in the cloud and they don't want to use it to represent the true usage. They just need the download data. So then they need the download data. So it's like really depend on different business use case, and then really be patient to go through what are all the data out there, and then only pick the ones relevant for your chargeback strategy.
Yeah, the other thing is
Yeah.
it is going to differ a little bit based on product too. So split cost allocation, CUR for EKS and ECS are another like two kind of enhanced products, like CUR plus plus, I always call them, that you can use for cost allocation, but they're limited to like a very specific list of services that you might be using currently. So take a look at what you're using, take a look at what you're trying to do, just like how she said, like, do you need upload and download? What do you actually want to charge back? What are people actually using? Make those business decisions and then go from there.
Yeah, the and the time it takes. But let's go into the automation in a sec. And this just reminds me of the conversation that we had about Graviton the other day, or we were talking with Rem and doing the deep dive, and we were talking about the usage and how what good looks like when it comes to like how much CPU something can take in CPU isn't the best metric. So just another shout out to check the metrics and the measurements you're using when it comes to these calculations, especially if it's something that you're not really sure of and you're a FinOps practitioner. It's worth having those extra conversations with product owners or developers to understand what something is actually meant to mean. If you want to check out that video, go on the YouTube channel. All right, let's pull up this poll. So now you've heard about the three different types, whether we use usage, proportional distribution, or a flat fee. God, I can't speak. What would you do? So my vote is always going to be number. I mean, 2 is the easiest one. That's the one I would pick. And so want to hear in the chat 1 for usage, 2 percentage, and 3 for flat fee. I'd be interested to see what everybody chooses for their one. What would be your picks, guys? I'll have them in.
I'm gonna throw a curveball. I'd do different things for different.
Okay, so you do like all of them.
Yeah. For me, I would also like factor in the in-house expertise and how fast I need this. If I need it really
how fast you
fast,
need
or
it.
I have like long time, like relatively like a relaxed
I bet
timeline
someone's
to
put
deploy this.
1, 2, depending. Well, that's it. It was actually a trick question. It's all of them, depending on what you're doing. That's how I spin the situation to be correct. But that's a good
Cannot
point,
choose.
Yeah, you can't choose because it depends on what you're doing, like we were just saying. So thank you for everyone for joining in. Okay, so we jumped around a little bit.
Super simple example for each one, if you want. So if we're charging back a shared savings plan, people will often do usage. So who used it, who actually took a piece of the pie, and that works as long as your coverage is like sufficiently high. For what was 2, proportional split, enterprise support, or any support fee, like that is charged inherently based on how much you use each month, so, and how much you spend each month. So you can basically just chop that up proportionally quite easily. And then a security setup is what I usually see folks do for the last one. If they have like a security setup, or split charges for all the security fees, if they're like paying for guard duty or shield or something for the entire organization, everybody gets an equal share of that because everybody is essentially using it equally.
Perfect. That's a very good summary. Like you said, they all depend on different scenarios. So we've talked a bit about what is chargeback. We've talked about the different scenarios that you use it for, different methods of doing it. One thing that we touched on briefly, I think we said earlier, was depending on who's doing the chargeback. Maybe that was, I forgot which one who said that. And that is true. Like, who's it going to? What's the report format going to be? So, I mean, a small thing, if people have the story loads of times, when I've done chargeback when I was at my other company, we made sure that it was given to the finance team in the format they needed, and then it could go straight into SAP and they could just do the chargeback and it would just hit cost centers. And we broke it up into a few different things. So kind of this was alluded to a bit by Xianshu. So we would have to charge back for several different things. So we had to, like Savannah just said, we had to do enterprise support, savings plan, we had to do a flat fee for the cloud ops team, and then we also had to charge back for the infrastructure they used. So the format we did it in was a different line item for each one of those, so that when it came to things like Cost Explorer, they could see their infrastructure costs and not get confused by this bigger number that wouldn't match Cost Explorer ever, because it's taking into consideration all these other bits. And so I think breaking that down and having those conversations, like we said earlier, the organization changes, making sure people know that it's going to happen and this is the format and this is what it means, is really important. Otherwise, you start to get some conflict. But Savannah, have you seen people like introduce chargeback and have any of these challenges or overcome them by doing anything specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, like the big one is if you switch from linked account management to centrally managing an RI fleet, or if you start buying a bunch of RDS RIs at the payer level, suddenly those recurring RI charges are going to be sitting in the payer account. And if you're in a linked account view and you're just an end user, you won't see any of that cost with a lot of the default views. The way that I've seen my customer get around that is essentially just switch to recommending that everybody use the net amortized view in Cost Explorer, and then making sure that that exposed discounts from savings plans and RIs is checked in the preferences. So it allows the linked accounts to see the discounts, and it will then essentially, like through the net amortized selection, allow them to see their share of what that actually looks like. Again, like enterprise support, shared services, security, et cetera, there's always going to be something that gets added on top of that that's not exactly like as transparent, but that gets them very close to what their end charge out is in most cases.
Perfect. And Xianshu, when you've done it with customers, I know that you've done a lot of work with chargeback recently with customers, and having to explain the breakdowns of these calculations can be quite intricate. I've seen you do a lot of Excel sheets in our time and having to manage this. When you speak to customers, what are some of the key things you have to show them and explain where the numbers come from so they understand it?
So yeah, so with my customers, they usually go direct to the cost and usage report because we speak directly to their cloud center of excellence. So they do have supporting engineers and they also have their ad hoc views to see their cost per, for example, applications or per their project, etc. So they have this internal visualization of their cost setup. So usually it's just to make sure the customer know where the cost is sitting in a line item in the curve, and then to show them like to see the right cost, and you have to use the right filters to get to the cost that you're really looking for. So it's usually, sometimes it turns out to be like a SQL and content usage report session.
Yeah, deep dives into this. Well, that's a good segue. Let's go into, I think, the demos. And we actually had a question earlier, which was, what tools do you use to Chargeback apart from categories and care? But let's go into those two first, and maybe we can come back to Stripe's question. Xianshu, do you want to show the curve first, and then Savannah will do your cost categories? So remind everyone what you're going to show us, Xianshu.
Yeah, sure. So what I'm going to show is where to find the right columns in your cost and usage report. So for my account, I'm still using legacy curve, but I do recommend, like, encourage.
I'm gonna kick her off. I was so tempted to remove you from the session then, just as a funny bit, but I was like, you panic probably. No, he's gonna convert. Don't worry. Don't listen to Xianshu. Don't tell Zach.
Don't use legacy curve.
No. Go for it. Continue.
Okay, let me quickly share my screen.
The classic part, getting the screen set up. There we go. No.
Yes.
Oh, I almost clicked on Secret Richard to come up on screen then. Oh. The illusion would have been broken. Do you want to zoom in a little bit for me, Xianshu, just so we can see the words?
Okay, wait. Okay, cool.
Wait, one more. There we go.
There we go.
One more?
I think it was
My
lagging.
tip.
Yeah,
No,
I think it's lagging a little bit.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
So usually what I do is to think about what is the relevant data field that you would need for any strategy that you want to implement. Because I've always shared with customers, like, the first thing I want you to think about everything. That, do you need a timestamp, and do you need the tags, for example, cost categories or linked accounts, to see the cost? And then for the cost option, I do also get all the cost columns, because we're going to see it now. We do have like one column. So for example, for savings plans, recurring fee per owner, and then we have another column which is the effective cost that shows the net amortized, like Savannah mentioned. So like multiple cost columns. So I do usually just get them all, so that you have all the data, like a slice of data that you need potentially for your chargeback, and then you can decide which column to use later. So this is how I usually find the dates, like the columns. So first is like we usually need time period. So if you partition your curve, you're going to see the months. But then I also use so I just type. So this is the way that I always find the column names. I don't remember everything, because the search function is actually really convenient. So the billing period start date is going to give you the exact month. But then if you wanted to dive down deeper into the time section, the column is called the usage. So I always type usage, so I know, oh, this is the line item usage start dates. So with the 3 columns, you'll be able to have the time frame, so like by month or by day or by hour. And then the next is what I would guide a customer to think is that, so which level do you want to see per tag? That maybe that is like your customized per application, per product team, or per cost center, etc. Or do you just want linked accounts? So this is how you can use it. So if you want to just in linked account, and I also type usage, this is represented by the usage account ID. Or if you have like tags, so this one, so for example, if you have like different kind of environment, and so for example, this is your more customized cost units. And this is linked ID that I already have. So those will give you the time and the destination that you want to allocate your shared cost. So the next piece is the different columns. So what I usually do, if you type savings, you actually have all the savings plans related columns. So
Mhm.
you see that you have total commitment to date, and then you have savings plans rate, you have used commitment, you have expected cost. So, and then you have this many, you actually have everything here. So what I would pick and choose is just do everything that is in the data cost that is double. So you have all the option to choose from. For the purpose of the demo, I'm just going to select the effective cost and then have the recurring fee.
Oh yeah, the top there.
Yeah.
Recurring commitment for billing period.
Yeah. The unused recurring fee. And then
So what's the difference, Savannah, between unused recurring fee and recurring commitment for billing period?
Yeah. So anything that doesn't say unused will point back to essentially how much in total you've committed. And then all of the unused columns represent that underutilization if you have any. And
yeah,
I think, like we mentioned before, it's super important to understand what you want to do with that underutilization if it does pop up, because when we charge out savings plans or reserved instances based on consumption, you're inherently looking for like what was consumed to allocate those costs. So when you have things that are unconsumed, there's no like common sense place for them to go because there isn't a consumer.
yeah. And also to explain for my dummy account is that I have purchased some small amount of savings plans, but I don't have instances use them. So this is why I only have unused recurring fee. Usually,
So
you
she
would
doesn't have
have.
Kurt 2.0, and she
I've
just
definitely done that where I'm like looking for my savings plan cost in my test account and I'm like, where is it? It's unused. I have nothing running. So that's why.
We have nothing. This is why in my account you only see unused recurring.
That's so funny. Okay, so what
Yeah.
happens when we run the query? Or is there anything else?
Oh, so yeah. So another part I want to explain is, so everything with the savings plans tag, recurring, for example. So it's the cost related to your savings plans purchase. But you also we also know like the savings plans is a different pricing from on demand. So some like a lot of the customers when they do chargeback, they also want to see the difference between the on demand so that they know the savings benefits of these shared services. So for example, for savings plans, so this is usually when I show the queries and the columns to customer, I always recommend also adding the unblended cost as public on demand. So you can decide to use it or not in the end, but and by this you will always have an option to calculate the savings for your end user, which is usually very helpful. So
We also do have, what is it, pricing public on-demand cost
yes,
equivalent in there too, which is
exactly.
helpful for folks.
Yeah. So that is another one that I get. So you just need to type public and then you have the public cost here.
Cool.
So always this. So we'll have all the savings plans related costs and then all the public costs. So if you, and then this is the filter that you want to decide which you want to see, because if you filter by savings plans ARN, then you will only see savings plans covered usage, but you won't see other shared services, for example. But for the purpose of the demo, let's just reduce it to a smaller data set. So we are only going to see anything related with savings plans.
You're
So if
going to
you,
need to group by them more.
yeah, oh yeah, I added more columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And a line 11, you've got a comma you don't need. Do you know, I find it really funny. I can see like where the little syntax errors are, but if I was writing that, I would not be able to see them. It's like you get the over the shoulder viewpoint. Okay, go for it.
Yeah. I think we have
Cool.
a syntax error. Another unneeded call.
What else is there?
No, I need this. I need this one. Oh no, I don't need this one.
Oh no, is that a full stop under? Oh no, it's not. As
Hmm.
Yeah, now we just turned this into a SQL
Oh, we need
trouble
4,
debugging.
not 5 in the group by.
Oh, there you go.
4.
Oh wait, month.
We
Never
need
mind.
5. Yeah.
5.
No 4. Oh, month is more.
Yeah.
What was the error?
Who thought it?
I think it's a comma.
Listen,
Yeah, it's a comma.
anyone in the chat, can you see what's wrong?
We have all the
do you need to
commas.
name one of them?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's my fault. I think it's because I have 2 languages in my keyboard. The comma format is maybe a Chinese keyboard. That's why. Yeah, that need to be careful too.
That's like expert mode. Oh my god.
Yeah, sometimes. So I know, because if you're running a Chinese keyboard, the format of the comma columns is not recognizable by any programming language. So just for
that also the single quotes, if you're like copy pasting from an email or a web page.
Oh,
in there,
don't.
so
Yeah.
bad. Yeah.
Just a reminder, we've only got a couple of minutes. We've only got long left.
Yeah.
So if you want to quickly summarize anything else in this query, and then we'll go on to some others categories.
Yes, sure. So now you have all the data field, and then you'll be able to use slice and do pivot view of the savings plans, recurring, on demand, public cost, and then you'll be able to like customize your chargeback strategy. So I hope it's helpful, and also the keyword searching can help you locate the columns faster.
Perfect. Thank you, Xianshu. All right, Savannah, you ready to demo how to set up cost categories?
Yes. Do you want to click it? We both always click it at the same time. Okay.
Yeah, it's up. So set the scene for us a little bit.
Yeah, so cost categories are kind of exactly what they sound like. They're a great way to categorize your costs into groupings that you choose. It is a rules engine, which I'll walk you through. But in this account that I'm demoing out today, I've never touched cost categories before. So we've got a clean slate, and we can walk through and kind of look at what all the configuration elements are and set up some today. So I'm in billing console right now. You are going to need an IAM user with billing admin permissions, specifically related to cost categories, to kind of do a lot of this configuration. But you're going to go ahead and find it in the cost organization section. And if it's brand new, like this one is, you should get this little how it works box, which I find very pretty with the little colors. I'm going to go ahead and collapse that for right now. I have not created anything in here yet. Very exciting. First thing I'm going to do is click create, and then it's going to take you into the rules engine where you actually do the build to categorize based on kind of how you want your cost to look and how you want these labels to look. This UI is also super new, which is really great because we've introduced this kind of bar chart, or not bar chart. What is that? A donut chart, I guess. Yeah, donut chart. It's like a pie chart, but it's got a hole, so it's a donut.
I think it's a donut.
I think it's a donut
chart.
Now I want donuts, though. Guys, why do we think? Tracy said a pie. It's not a pie because you have slices.
Donut. Anyway, it will show you kind of your entire cost profile. And then as you build out the cost categories, you'll see it update in real time to show you how much is left to categorize, which is so helpful because you can see like where you're at, especially if you're using tags or something similar to that. You can like really do some on the fly configuration there.
Someone said bagel.
Bagel chart.
It's not called a bagel chart, but yeah,
bagel. Anyway, it doesn't make a difference. So the first thing you're going to do is name your cost category. So I'm going to name this one Steph's cost category. This one's Steph. Shout out Steph. And once you've named it, we've kind of got the ability to either use Rule Builder or you can use a JSON editor. So I'm going to go ahead and use Rule Builder because I think that's a little bit easier to see, but there are some kind of really interesting things that you could do with JSON editor as well. So keep that in the back of your mind. So I'm going to go ahead and add a rule, and we get this kind of pop up on the side here. This becomes super helpful because you can see what's already listed versus what you have left to do, and you can kind of do some of that configuration. So you can either do a manual or an inherited rule. If you want to essentially just push an account name or tag into cost categories, you can use the inherited rule. I'm going to do one of the more common things that folks usually do today, and I'll do manually and basically group different linked accounts into the same cost category.
Okay.
So when you would use this is if you have, let's say, 20 products under your AWS organization, and each one of those products has test, production, development, and a sandbox account. And instead of seeing all of those accounts, you just want to bucket those kind of 4 staging accounts or 4 kinds of accounts under one product label. So we can select if we want to do kind of all or any of the following conditions. And when we open that up, I don't have any tags in this account, so can't use cost allocation tag, but you can use any of the things that you see here. I'll use account. Other quick call out is once I create a cost category, you'll also see cost category in this list. So you can nest them and stack them however you like.
Nice.
And I'll do account is, we also do have kind of string match. This is a little bit more helpful for tags usually. I've seen people kind of use cost categories to clean up tagging implementation too. So if you have like production, capital P, PROD, PRD, production all lowercase, you could build a cost category and include basically any spelling or any variant of production to push that into a cost category. So it's all like neat and tidy basically, because we know tags are case sensitive and that can be a pain point.
Yeah.
So I'll do account is, and then now I've got a list of all of my linked accounts. So I'll go ahead and select let's just do these 2 and call these will be Steph's Greece accounts.
Steph's what?
Steph's Greece accounts.
Greece.
It's
I also watched Greece the other day, so I was like, how did you know that I watched Greece? That's weird. And then I was like, did I send you a picture?
No. So I'll go ahead and create that rule. And my session expired. So that's cool. Of course. We'll go ahead and refederate there.
We can do that.
No, okay.
That's we done. Oh, you got to log in. That's right. So classic. It burns us up, the automatic. It's just safety, but we always get about the safety aspect of it. Someone said it happens all the time, which I think is funny.
Thanks.
All right.
I needed that.
It's not just you. We've also got a good question about retroactive tags that I want to make sure we bring up in a bit, but
yes. All right, we'll go back in here. Let's see if it saved any of that.
Who's betting that it hasn't?
We'll do a little turbo version. Yeah. Okay. Well, all good. Easy enough.
Yeah, we know what we're doing now. We're going to call it.
We know what we're doing. This is stuff.
We know that there's a donut/pie/bundt cake/bagel on the right-hand side.
Oh, bundt cake. Whoa.
I think that's what someone said. Yeah, bundt cake was on there. And we're going to have all the accounts. Perfect.
Cool. And these will be Steph's Greece accounts. To honor her recent vacation, we'll create that rule. And now we can see right away this little chart updates. And you can see Steph's Greece accounts are really big spenders, 19 whole cents. Calm down.
Blowing the budget.
Yeah. We'll add another one. And we'll just do another account one. And then you'll see we've got our selector again, and I'll do these 2.
So as a reminder that you can select the same account twice.
Yes.
So in 2 different categories. So just to be a mindful thing that if you're doing this kind of split, it won't, just because you've done account doesn't mean that it will remove accounts from it. Be aware.
And we'll do that as Steph's London accounts. Steph spends most of her time in London, although not all of it because she travels a lot. So we can see the London accounts make up the majority of the cost. I only have 4 accounts in this organization, so I'll just keep it at these 2. But you can kind of imagine what that would look like. And again, we've got a lot of configurations and a lot of configurability here. The one thing that I do want to kind of pull up for a second is the uncategorized costs. So you can name anything that's uncategorized however you want to as well, which is convenient. So if you want to just like name that as other or like unallocated, you could do that. Depending on like what your setup looks like, you could name that shared services if you're categorizing everything except for the shared services. So keep that in mind. I will, gotta save stuff. That's the stuff I forgot. We'll do next. And then we get into split charges. I'm not going to go too deep on these because they can be kind of complicated, but a split charge is essentially a way to allocate usually a shared cost. I've used this to allocate enterprise support charges before. And once you kind of go ahead and click on that add button, you'll see a lot of the things that we talked about earlier: proportional, fixed, or even split, basically. And you can choose a source value, so where it's coming from. If you were to be categorizing enterprise support or that like shared services cost, you can take it from uncategorized and you can just put that basically all over everybody else and weight it proportionally, fixed, or with an even split. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that for now because we don't have anything in there, but we'll go ahead and click next. And I think this is gonna key into that tag question that we got. So we cannot backfill tag data, but we can backfill cost categories data up to 12 months ago. So yeah, super exciting. So if we're setting this up today and we need to retroactively push back the split as far back as we can backfill for a year. If you are using tag data on your cost categories, it will backfill until that tag was created or turned on for cost allocation, essentially. So cost categories, we can push back, tags can't.
Perfect.
You can also tag your cost category if you'd like. But I'm going to just go ahead and click create here. You'll get this successful creation message immediately. This can confuse some folks. When you first go into kind of this screen, once you've created it, everything's going to look uncategorized. That's just because our billing system is thinking and pushing it through. I usually say 12 to 24 hours. Usually it's more like 8, unless you're creating this on the first of the month when everything's kind of slowed down anyway. But when you come back in here, you'll be able to see this in basically a bar chart. And you can see kind of exactly what's in each of these cost categories. You can create multiple cost categories. And the best part is it's going to push into all of our other billing tools, including Cost Explorer. So you can use it as a group by or as a filter. And the cost and usage report, you'll get a column set for each one of the cost categories you create as well. So lots of use, lots of stuff. Very exciting.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, right. We've got a question that will kind of take us out to the last minute, which is being serious after all the jokes this person has put in. I have a customer who wants to know how to attribute their infra cost to their end customer. Are tags the best way to do it? So why don't each of us just take a minute to say what their approach would be? Savannah, do you want to go first with a student cost category?
It depends on how diligent that end customer is with tagging. I think that is like, it's going to depend a lot on how those workloads are structured and how good of a good person you can be with actually diligently tagging that stuff. Ideally, like if I had a perfect world, I would have a very clean account set up so that you know kind of who owns what. And then I would have very clean, very diligent, very well done tags that allocate to each product and each end customer, ideally with a lot of automation as well. And then on top of that, I would probably build a cost category to look at those tags and accounts and then just kind of
to make sure
that way and split it. But
allocated. Could that be a good solution where it's like if you're looking at the tag and then seeing if all the resources are tagged because you have that little donut? Oh, perfect. Yep. What about you, Xianshu? What would you kind of do with this situation?
I do believe tax is the most versatile way to do it. But then I also like Steph, she has a blog too about it, like also to give you another option, like how do you charge it with organization data and just by linked accounts. If you haven't read it, yeah, let me. Yeah.
I think I have it.
Yeah,
grab it.
That's for me the best way to do it.
This one. I have that. Yeah, I would agree with myself. The extent she said that, I agree with
She's always right, folks.
Past Steph was a clever gal. Yeah, I agree. Organization, using your OUs, using your accounts is the best way of doing it if you can have everything isolated in an account. And if you don't have that situation, a question is why? Sometimes people are like, oh, it's too difficult. I'm like, well, accounts are free. The only thing you do have to repay for is things like if you're setting up any kind of security processes, but it is a good way. It's kind of, if you weigh up time and cost, how much time it takes you to set up a good chargeback model versus kind of those maybe a couple of pounds or dollars you spend on a security service, maybe it's worth balancing out. And that is one of the big things to take away is when you're doing any of this work, make sure you choose a method, a process, a scenario, a tool that is going to help you be the most efficient based on the scale and the complexity of your chargeback. And with that, I will hand over to Secret Richard to do his summary of the show and just say, very nice comment. Thanks. Love the show. We're glad you love it. We keep coming back. And as a reminder, we just said, right, we're taking a month break like we always do. We're coming up for the last season of the show and some fun episodes in then. But don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel. So if we add any other videos or content through that on our break, we can do it. Okay, chargeback, showback, except I want my money. I love that. That's true. That's all that's happening. You're pulling in money. 3 common types are situational dependent. Yes, not one size fits all. Cur queries bend chargeback to your data to your will. As it use the Cur 2.0. Xianshu, and categorize using rules to simplify reporting. Use it as much as possible. Mess around, and if you're going to reinvent, check out Savannah's session on that. Okay, thank you so much for watching. We will see you all next time. Oh, Rem, don't leave us.
Sometimes I can still hear his voice.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you in a month. Make sure to follow us on all socials, and that way you can make sure to see what we're doing next. Thanks again. I can't speak the last bit.
Take care.
See you all later. Bye.
See you. Bye.